Ah, so I would like to give a warm welcome to everybody who is attending. My name is Gabriele Guzzi, and I am a volunteer in the events and fundraising team at Report Out. And this recording will be can be found later on our YouTube channel. And by the way, I also wanted to say that this time we are trying something new. We are live streaming this session with you, Tanya. It's also visible now on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook. I just want to say a little bit something about ReportOUT. We are a global human rights organization for sexual and gender minorities and are based in the UK. We do research, monitor, and record human rights abuses against sexual and gender identity minorities. We then use this to educate people and campaign about the human rights of people in every single nation state. So far, we are entirely volunteer-led and have a team of over 50 volunteers who help us to work. For further details, if you're curious, there are more details on our website. By the way, the link for our website will be dropped once in a while in the chat, and also the link for donations in case anybody feels the urge to contribute to our work. We have a range of previous events that can be found on the YouTube channel to watch, such as, for example, events about Mongolia, Ghana, Russia, an event about conversion therapy, an event on Lebanon, and so forth. And they can all be found on our YouTube channel. In case you want to sign up or you want to know sooner about those events happening, we have an email list, and you can sign up to that email list on our website, so you will be notified earlier. But that is enough from me. I don't want to take too much of time. And I would like to extend the word to Tanya, our speaker today. She was meant to be speaking with another activist from Kharkiv, Ruslana, but unfortunately, due to an emergency, she was not able to make it today. Therefore, it will be just Tanya and me today. Tanya, would you like to introduce yourself shortly?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm from Ukraine and I'm here in Ukraine now. I was born in Mariupol in 1989. In 2014, I moved to Kiev. I'm a former journalist. I used to be an editor-in-chief of two medias. Previously, I started writing about women in business, and that is how I started writing about gender equality. And then I started writing about human rights of LGBTQ. So I'm a straight ally. And in 2018, I wrote a book, my 13 interviews with women from stigmatized groups of Ukraine, in particular transgender women. And in 2019, I joined NGO Fulcrum. Here I work as a manager of communications and a project manager. I coordinate several projects as Corporate Equality Index. It's national survey of Ukrainian business, how they support human rights on workplace. Also, I'm a coordinator of Allies in Action. And this project is aimed to unite straight allies like me, but from different spheres like business, politics, religion even, science, journalism, media, blogging, and so on. Currently we work in Lviv, and I will tell you how it happened. But our organization was founded in 2009. So it's one of the biggest and oldest LGBTQ organizations in Ukraine. But we name ourselves as an intersectional organization because human rights is for everybody. So we work with LGBTQ, with women, with people with disabilities, with people with HIV, IDPs, of course, especially now internally displaced people. But during the war in Ukraine, we focused on LGBTQ, and again, I will explain you later why. So.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much for this introduction. then let's jump right into it. So I would like to, go all in just for the starters, and I would like to know that in these a bit more than 100 days, like what impact has the conflict, this armed conflict and displacement had on the LGBTQ plus community, both like in terms of who fled and in terms of those who may host?
Actually, all of us didn't expect that war would happen. I will be honest. We were quite anxious and nervous, like since November, then December, especially in January, February, because of the news. We had a lot of like online streams on Instagram with different psychotherapists, with different bloggers who tried to calm down everybody. And our team lead, Timur, he thought about relocation outside of Ukraine. But again, we, we thought that maybe we wouldn't need it. And it was the mistake, for example, for gay men, because due to the war, men from 18 till 60 years old, they can't leave our country because they can be mobilized on war. So we have this Ukrainian law. There's why I may say that war especially influenced on gay men, on transgender people with male markers in their passport. So they also couldn't cross border. They had to pass all these circles and rounds with the medicine doctors, so they could get this. Um, they could get this paper document, so that they are real transgender people and they can cross. Women lesbian, they can cross border, and I know a lot of lesbian couples who are outside of Ukraine, but they still really miss country. I know lesbian couples who decided to be here, to go to villages, just like to save a place than, for example, Bucha in Kiev region. I think that maybe all of you hear about what Russian militaries did in Bucha, in Irpin, in Kiev region. We know a lot of cases about raping women, that Russians raped women, kids, boys, and so on. So actually, I can't divide that war influenced on some group more than on another. It influenced on everybody in Ukraine. Of course, people who lived in Kharkiv, in Chernihiv, in my native city Mariupol, they suffered more. They all of them got like some injuries. They lost their homes. For example, 90% of houses in my Mariupol are destroyed. So it's a hole in the city. The whole city is in ruins. But for example, my parents, they live in private house, and it's a small private house, and around it there are multi-story buildings. So I guess that these buildings, they like protect our little house. That is why my parents don't want to go, don't want to leave Mariupol, because they still have their home. And a lot of Mariupol, for example, people like thousands, they don't have homes anymore. They're homeless people now. A lot of people got injuries, amputations. For example, my friend Ulyana Pcholkina, she's also an activist. She's a woman in wheelchair, and she told me that recently she visited a hospital in Lviv, and to meet one young woman, 20 years old, who is in wheelchair now because she jumped of the window because she was afraid of militaries, and she decided that to commit suicide. But she survived, and now she's in a wheelchair. A lot of people with amputations, and all of these people are from east of Ukraine. And the problem is that we can't tell that these people are just straight people, because it's not popular to be gay or lesbian in Ukraine. A lot of people are closed, so we can't say, we can't name statistics. We can't. I can't say you numbers of people who suffered from of LGBT people who suffered from the war. I know, for example, that um, 200 LGBTQ people are on front lines, so they are militaries, and this is another problem because these people have huge risk to die, to be killed, and they don't have equal rights like straight people, for example. They don't have this opportunity to have legal marriage or civil union, civil partnership. And that is why if some partner dies, another partner is nobody for him. He is illegal in terms of Ukrainian law. He can't do anything with his heritage. He can't decide what to do with the body of the partner. And this is another problem. And also, if the couple, for example, has kids, these kids will be orphans if one partner as a legal mom or dad dies. A war in Ukraine influenced all of us. Another problem is the increasing level of unemployment. And again, for example, and the problem is huger for men, of course, for gay men again, because companies are afraid to hire men because they think that they will be, this specialized can be mobilized in a couple months. So they prefer to hire women. And also we have the level of unemployment because some businesses are closed, so people lost their jobs. Some people, a lot of people don't know English, so they can't, for example, find remote work and work for the USA or Europe. So we have a lot of problems, and I think that it's just like the beginning, unfortunately. And after the war, I hope after our victory, we will have tough times also, because we, we will need to rebuild the country, and also we will need to remember what values we have been fighting, because I'm afraid that well, there are two scenarios we can if I mean victory. For example, we win and everything is good. We have this direction to Europe. We share democratic liberal values. We support each other. Another scenario is that people will be very tired of the war, and they will compare who was more patriot. There will be like the level of nationalism can increase, and you see that when war started, a lot of people got armed because they was like participants of territorial defense, like just some ultra group who couple years ago could come to Pride March in Kiev and just screamed it too loud. Now they could get this arm. So, and I think that it will be quite difficult for the state to control the number of arm like on the streets. So people, just imagine people are tired, unemployment, economical crisis, and no one, I think, will take care about human rights and especially about rights of LGBT, one of the most marginalized group in Ukraine. So I described you like two scenarios, one negative and one positive. I hope that um, the first one will be our reality, but we now all of us understand that it won't be soon, because we thought that war like would end like in a week. We saw all the protests like in European cities, and we saw this huge support of all of you. But then we understood that this were full-scale war, and I must remind you that war started not like in February. It started in 2014, but full-scale war will be long for us and for, unfortunately, for all the world, because we can't close the eyes that it's just Ukraine, neighbor of Russia. We see now that this war has consequences on different countries in Africa, in Europe. So, and you will see like a lot of IDPs, Ukrainian IDPs, and it also will influence economic in different countries.
That is a very, yeah, the war takes a huge toll on every community in Ukraine, as you mentioned. And maybe I would like to get a bit deeper into a point that you mentioned, that problems that LGBTQ community members may face on who are already in the army or in the front line, because it's known that in places of conflict, in places of violence, vulnerable communities are the first ones to suffer or to suffer more. So I was wondering whether we could talk a bit more about that, whether there is what additional problems LGBTQ plus people may find when they are on the front line or in between the lines, or maybe even in the occupied territories. For example, it's also, we did an event on Chechnya, and it's known, with the Chechnyans involved, and so it can get nasty. Yeah, I was wondering whether you could talk about that a bit.
Talking about occupied territories, there are definitely some problems, for example, with getting medicine, because people, for example, with HIV, this is also our target group. We have project Friendly Doctor. So we send like tests, free tests on HIV and other diseases. And we like built a network of friendly doctors for LGBT. So people who are on occupied territory, of course, they don't have an access to such tests or medicine. If you talking about militaries, now the situation is better according to attitude towards militaries, because previously they were really like some kind of unicorn. They even have this chevron unicorn. I can send it to you. I just like today I made a presentation. So I will, I think that I can show you. Yes, this chevron was made by our designer, Nastya. She works with us, and then we were thinking about what should be like, what an emblem can describe LGBTQ militaries. We decided that this is unicorn, because nobody saw unicorns. And there was myth that no LGBT were on front lines. Even some members of parliament, like with so conservative values, they like made statements on Facebook that no, they were in some battalions and they didn't see any gays. And it was funny because that guy, he posted a photo, and on this photo was the first gay who did a coming out in 2018, Vita Pilipenko. Vita Pilipenko was our colleague. Now he's a paramedic, and he's also on front line again. So he was at Donbass in 2015, and now he is again on front line. So this community of militaries, LGBTQ militaries, it was founded in 2018, but unofficially. So Vita came out. He was the first one. He was attacked by far-right groups on the streets a couple times. And after Vita, there were some coming out, and they made Facebook page, LGBTQ militaries and their allies, and the group started increasing like a year ago, and now it's one of the most visible group during the war, because every day, or just like every week, some guy or some girl, they made coming out, so they don't afraid to be open. So that is this means that they battalion, they they understand these people. They support them. They don't hate them. They don't discriminate them, because they know that, come on, we are like shoulder to shoulder. We are on the front line defending independence and freedom of Ukraine. So now this group is not so discriminated as like 3 years ago. And actually, in May, we had a new survey of attitude of Ukrainians towards LGBT. Yes, and the numbers quite good compared to 2016, because, for example, if in 2016, like 30% of people had positive attitude towards LGBT, 30%. Now it's almost 60%. So
wow.
It's bigger, yes. And talking about LGBT militaries, so I will check, because 66% of Ukrainians have positively attitudes towards LGBTQ militaries, and that these people defend Ukraine, and only 11% they are against. So the numbers now are quite good. Actually, I think this is also because militaries now we have like another polls and surveys. Of course, the ranking of the president now is quite high, of Zelensky, and but like last year's and this year, on the first place is always militaries. Militaries have the hugest percent of support of this side, because they are our defenders.
Wow, it stuns me always when we hear about sudden opportunities or in crisis, like the unicorn emblem, and all of the sudden in 3 years from 30 to 60%. That's incredible to hear. Moving a bit away from the front line and the military world, in civil society under siege, and yeah, the life in war, what are the key needs of the LGBTQ community at the moment? I assume it's a bit hard to say, since everything is a bit chaotic, So what is your professional view on that?
So during the first month of the war, the hugest problem was with the shelters. So our organization, as I said, we are now relocated in Lviv. Previously, I was in Vinnytsia, but now also in Lviv with my team. And like the male colleagues, they they decided like in first 2 days that they had to organize shelters because again, male men can't cross the border. Um, we had a case when one 19 years old gay faced domestic abuse from his father. His father said that leave the house, and so this guy he didn't have any place to live, and he's a student, so he lived in dormitory, but the dormitory was closed also, so he was like homeless. And we knew about several cases and decided like to make shelters. So we organized two shelters. One was like for mixed straight allies, families, kids, and LGBTQ, and another one was only just for LGBT. Um, Men and women, one transgender person was there. Some people like use the shelter just for a night, just like a stop and to rebuild their life. Some people have been living there for 3 months and so on. So the first problem is a place to live. Because as I said, a lot of people are homeless. They don't have now money for to rent apartment, and so on. Another problem is losing jobs. Uh, the third one is humanitarian aid because of losing of job. They don't have money to buy some goods, stuff. So when we started operating shelters, we also we're providing and still provide humanitarian aid like food, hygiene, medicine also. What else? Some people have problem with passport. For example, one of our girl from the shelter, she's lesbian, and she didn't have a passport just to cross the border. So she's woman, she can cross the border. So we helped her with this problem. What else? What else? The problem is that nobody cares actually about LGBT. And for example, as I said, people with disabilities is one of the priority now for Ukraine because we will have a huge number of people with amputation, different traumas and injuries. And I see all the time, like on Facebook, different statements of First Lady Olena Zelenska. I even worked in one of her projects. I made a dictionary of correct terms about LGBT, people with disabilities, and so on. And I see all the time, like the posts about people with disabilities. I see a lot of posts about women. I see a lot of posts about kids. But nobody from the authorities wrote and said about LGBT. And so only LGBT take care about LGBT actually and allies. So there's why now we have this like cool networking between NGO, LGBT NGOs in Ukraine, our Fulcrum, Inside, Kyiv Pride, Gender Stream, all of these organizations, we focus on different groups. For example, our main focus in on men. Inside is focused on transgender people and women. They also organize Women's March every year. Kyiv Pride is focused like again on all LGBT, but Kyiv Pride they are located in Lviv, for example, inside in Lviv and Chernivtsi. We in Lviv, but we try to help like over Ukraine where we can. So yes, this is another problem, and the last one, but not least, is psychological problems.
Mm.
Of course, all of the Ukrainians have and will have this post-traumatic disorder, like just on different levels. Somebody is one person could see awful stuff on the streets, for example, Bucha, Irpin, Mariupol. Somebody just heard explosions. Somebody was relocated like 2 days before full-scale war started, but his or her family is here in Ukraine, for example, and he or she doesn't have like connection. For example, I didn't have connection with my parents like for a month, and it was just for me so hard to live without knowing if they were alive. So this is post-traumatic syndrome will be a huge problem for us. Some people will be broken, and the problem is that psychological support is not so popular in Ukraine. We have a lot of psychologists, but people now think that they're so strong, they can deal with it. They are afraid or they have feel this shame to ask for this help. But I think that we need it and we should do it in future, of course. Um, and LGBTQ people also have this problem. For example, I know a lot of gays, and they feel this like feeling of being like betrayed by, because they say, for example, I can be useful and helpful outside. I'm not a warrior. I'm not so strong. I will not be useful on front line. But they feel they feel like they're in the cage, the birds in the cage, and it's also pressure on them. And it also can provoke conflicts between men and women, because men feel jealous that women can cross border. I face it, honestly. As a woman, I face it.
Mm. Well, those are all implications that sometimes we forget about and cannot imagine how to live by it. As you mentioned, in absence of classical political motivation to, address the LGBTQ communities and provide special structures, you said that it is especially like some organizations or collectives that are helping themselves. And thereby, I wanted to ask you, like, because you mentioned mystically, so you will tell us why and what Fulcrum does. So would you like to tell us a bit more about the work of Fulcrum?
Yeah, before the work, we have several directions. As I said, allies in action. So we try to unite trade allies from different spheres. I also was team lead and author of the project forum, allies in action, BAM, Business Activism Media. So we made it on television. It was like stream whole the day, just like it was like a TV marathon, and we're talking about human rights, but in fun way. We even have stand-up performer. We have cool discussions with people as I said, from religion. Even last year, I invited Muslim, Orthodox, and Rabbi, and we were talking about LGBT rights in Ukraine. It was somebody from some representative of religion. So also we had this project Friendly Doctor, as I said, this network of friendly doctors in Poltava, Kharkiv, Kiev, Vinnytsia, and also we had a cabinet where people just could come and get tests for free, or they could get tests for free by post and do it online with the doctor. Also, we had project with psychological support, and now we continue it. So for free, people can get like consultancy. Hope we will work. We continue actually working with business. So we provide like trainings for them. We teach them diversity, inclusiveness on workplace, correct terms, and so on. Now, as I said, we had to work on fire. So like 3 months we operate in shelters, but now we want to come back to our long-term strategic goals. That is why we transformed this project with shelters. So I called it Start from the Scratch. This project will provide for LGBTQ people and allies. We don't exclude allies. Uh, this is, by the way, this is our feature as of LGBT organization. We work with allies and LGBT, not only with LGBT. Um, so we will provide like scholarships, fellowships for people, and they will have opportunity to live for free a month or two. We will pay for English courses, English language courses. We will provide them internship or online studying in IT company, and also, we will provide them career consultancy with HR from IT sphere and the psychological support of the psychotherapist. So she will help to understand your motivation, your goals, and she will help us to find motivated people who will be the successful part of this program, because if person is depressed, um, he or she will not try to find job right now. They will have another urgent problems. But we don't exclude such people. We try to help them in another way. Another problem, and a huge problem that we will try to resolve, is legal status of partnership of LGBTQ people. So like a couple of years ago, we started working on it, on civil partnership, on the draft of laws, on the drafts of law on civil partnership, and we suggested like 3 types of it. We found a couple member of parliament in Ukraine who can be our allies and who can register this draft of laws. But for example, a month ago, we wrote one MP and asked her, so like, look, people are dying, militaries LGBTQ are dying, and they are nobody for inside of the couple. We should do something. And she told us that it's not time. The parliament will not register it, will not review this draft of law. And just like 2 weeks ago, she wrote us and asked us about continue this idea. So we have a lawyer, So it's a lawyer who knows all the procedures inside Parliament, so it will be easier. And we will work on this draft of laws because it's not only for LGBT actually, it's for everyone in Ukraine, and not, as I said, not only LGBT suffer and lose their partners, but of course now we have couples that just like live together, but they don't have, they're not married, and again somebody died, somebody was killed, and another partner is nobody for this person. So with this draft of law, we hope to resolve this problem. And we have like two types of it. Like one is civil partnership just for everybody, and in particular for LGBT. And another one is for LGBTQ, is for militaries, actually, not only for LGBT, but for militaries. It's we read about this type of relations as fraternization, like brotherhood on the war. For example, two guys, two men, they are on the war. They don't have families, or their family don't support their desire to defend Ukraine, and they don't have like close people except each other, so they can use this law of brotherhood fraternization, it's like term for it, um, to to make they to get for their relations some legal status. For example, if somebody dies, another one can decide what to do with the body, they to bury it, and so on. But this law also will be not only for men, but of course for women, because now there are a lot of women on front lines also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for this extensive talk with me. And I would like to now kind of open the discussion for everybody else who has questions. I am sure there are some burning questions that need or want to be asked. And I've seen that there was a question that in the chat, and somebody's asking if there is any support or positive relationship with Russian LGBT people, or are they sort of brainwashed like so many of the Russian straight people?
We don't have any connections actually with the Russian LGBT people, and we didn't get any support from them. And actually, I'm not sure that we would take it, because honestly, I will tell you that, for example, I think that a month ago, Lviv, there were rockets in Lviv, and we heard these explosions. It was scared, and the next day we had some Zoom events like this with my team lead Timur. We were sitting in bomb shelter because we were afraid. Our shelter was underground. It was a really bomb shelter. So during alarms, we went there. So we had this Zoom call in bomb shelter, and it was LGBTQ event. So all LGBT organization from Europe, we both were from Ukraine, and four organizations represented Russia. And everybody like presented themselves, and I explained why we are sitting in bomb shelter. That day before yesterday, Russia attacked Lviv with rockets, and actually nobody from these organizations wrote us anything. No words of support, no just like words of sorry. We are so sorry, but nothing. So we don't expect anything from them.
I see, I see. There's another question. How effective is the support from global LGBT plus charities and organizations, and what more could be done to support the community?
Yeah, and global organizations are super cool. we got a lot of support, honestly, and we got support from Ukrainian Americans, from the USA. Um, they always organize some events like drag queen show, so they raise donations and they send this like thousands of dollars to LGBTQ organization in Ukraine, like the um, divided between fulcrum and site, Kiev Pride, and so on. We got huge support from donors. So some of organizations, they just wrote us and said, just like give the speech in front of our members, and maybe we will invite like business companies, and maybe somebody will donate you. And this is how we got support, for example, from visit.org. Yeah, they support us a, a lot. I think that some organizations, they like choose organizations, for example, some chooses Kiev Pride, some organizations pay attention on us, on Fulcrum and so on. What more can be done to support the community? For example, of course, like there can be different ways how you can support us, just to make the problem visible, just not to forget to talk about the war of Ukraine, because last week every whole world was talking about Johnny Depp and his divorce, and everybody forgot about the war in Ukraine. You see, just some these celebrity cases, they they are in highlights and not the war the people are dying. So just like talk about it. Well, if you have opportunity to donate, just donate. All of organizations have this. I will, if you don't mind, I will share our site, so you can find all the information about Точка.Опора. You can write, for example, me and ask about other organization. I will give you other emails. Of course, you can join events in support of Ukraine in your cities. And if you have like March of Equality, Pride March this month, just like raise rainbow flag in Ukrainian one. For example, I will be in Warsaw, in Poland, on 25th of June, and there will be like a column. So this whole Pride event, it will be in support of Ukraine and of course of LGBT community in Ukraine. So you can join this event, post it on social media, and so on. If you know something about companies who have jobs, remote jobs, for example, and Ukrainians can get it, also you can share it with us, for example, with me, because we will work on this problem with unemployment in Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you.
We have a bit more time for other questions in case there is another question. Anybody curious to ask something? Well, then I have one little last question. You mentioned you wrote a book, and I was wondering where can we find that book?
Actually, it's in Ukrainian.
Ah.
Yeah, it's in Ukrainian, but I also wrote a fairy tale in English, and it's online. I will find it now.
Please share the link.
Yeah, I will share. And actually, I put LGBT components on this fairy tale, but this fairy tale is for kids. But I tried to make this fairy tale like inclusive. As a writer, I was invited to take part in workshop organized by United Nations. So there were like writers, kids writers from all the Europe. I was like, I'm not a kids writer. I'm a human rights activist, but I like to write. I'm a former journalist, so I decided that I want to study how to write for kids about inclusiveness, equality, human rights. And my fairy tale was picked from Ukraine. I represent Ukraine in this collection of fairy tales. So now I will share it with you. And actually, 2 days ago, United Nations, they asked me to translate this fairy tale in Ukrainian, and they want me to record it with my voice, because I also like film dubbing actress. Yeah, I do it. So it will be in Ukrainian. I'm really happy that the fairy tale about diversity will be in Ukrainian. I will find it right now, and maybe you have some more questions. Don't be ashamed.
In the meantime, yeah. In the meantime, anybody another question?
Actually, I forgot to tell you about hate crimes.
Oh, yeah.
And this is another huge problem, especially now, because we know about several cases of attack against LGBTQ activists. For example, Olena Shevchenko was attacked. She is the head of Insight NGO. She was attacked. Then she was working with humanitarian aid on the street, and some guy just came to her and attacked her. Another two cases were whereby here whereby the representatives of territorial defense, as I mentioned, we have this problem that now different people have armed guns, and they are not afraid. They know that they have this power because they have gun in their hands. So, for example, and they can just came to a person on the street because they're military staff and so on. They can ask you to show your passport and to show you, for example, your phone. And one guy, he was attacked because they saw his photos on the phone. They understood that he is gay, and they attacked him. And of course, now during the war, police will not resolve this problem because we have like more important problems now. But for example, Olena Shevchenko, she went to police because she is visible. She is famous, quite famous in Ukraine. So she will inform. She will continue informing about this case on social media. And here you can see my fairy tale, and this is like the whole collection. So if you have like kids, nephews, I don't know, godsons, daughters, you can share the link with them.
Well, thank you very much, Tanya. This was very, very informative. I thank you for your attendance. I would also like to thank everybody who has attended and asked questions. I'd like to do a little shout out also to Tanya, who organized this event, and Katrina, who was technical assistant. We have more events coming up, so please don't subscribe to our newsletter. Please also visit the website of Fulcrum, check out the donations link, and check out the amazing fairy tale written by Tanya. And that is it from our part, really. And I can only say from my side that dark times, that our prayers and our thoughts are with Ukraine. And I hope victory comes quick.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so. Our victory will be the victory of the whole democratic world.
You are right. You are right. Have a lovely evening, Tanya.
And I wish you also, I wish you peaceful and calm days. And you can believe me that you're so lucky people that you don't hear this alarm on mobile. Fortunately, we didn't. I didn't have it like today, but on our mobile we have this app. I will show you. This is it. Trevor alarm. So every day actually it works at 4 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 a.m. So it means that Russia like put rockets on Ukraine, and we also have like the map with and you can see like in real time what district, what region is in danger. For example, sometimes it's Kiev and not Lviv, sometimes whole of all of Ukraine. And honestly, I feel calm and peaceful only then I cross border and I was in Poland on the event. But then you hear in Ukraine, we hear the sirens and alarm all the time. So just like just love your life and just appreciate it that you fortunately don't have this. And take care.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.